Story 1. I don't usually talk about this, not because it's some epic horror story or anything, but because every time I think about it, I get this weird, cold feeling in my stomach. It's one of those memories that just won't leave you alone, no matter how small it seems. I live in Goulburn, Australia, a quiet inland town that most people pass through without stopping. But locals know it's different. There's something heavy about this place. Maybe it's because it was the first inland city in the country, or perhaps it's the old buildings, the cemeteries, the stories passed around at pubs. Whatever it is, people around here talk about ghosts the way other towns talk about the weather. At the edge of Goulburn, half hidden by overgrowth and rusted fences, sits Kenmore Asylum, an abandoned psychiatric hospital that shut down years ago. Everyone in town knows it's haunted. We all grew up hearing stories about what went on inside. Abuse, patients that vanished, rooms that were permanently locked and never spoken about again. Some people said even the staff refused to work night shifts near certain wings before it closed. So naturally, being dumb 17-year-olds with too much time and not enough fear, a couple of mates decided to explore it one weekend. There were 4 of us: me, Josh, Blake, and Sam. We brought flashlights, snacks, and just enough bravado to cover up the fact that none of us were comfortable being there. The place was falling apart. Windows shattered, walls tagged with graffiti, old rusted beds flipped on their sides. But it was the silence that got to me. Not quiet, dead silence. No birds, no wind, just the sound of our footsteps and the occasional creak from the rotting floorboards. As we explored, we found this 2-story brick building that was separate from the main complex. Looked like it used to be some sort of dormitory or staff quarters. The only way up to the 2nd floor was this narrow staircase built along the side, metal, rusted, and barely holding together. One of us, I think it was Sam, had the idea to pour flour along the steps. For fun, he said. See if anyone or anything walks through it. We thought it was hilarious. The bag of flour came from Josh's mom's pantry, and we spread it across each step carefully, like we were setting a trap for something we didn't believe in. We left that night with nothing to show for our trouble. Just a lot of dust in our lungs and a weird feeling none of us wanted to admit out loud. We laughed it off, said the place was creepy but boring. But something didn't sit right with me. I didn't sleep well. None of us talked much in the group chat that night either. The next day, we decided to go back, mostly to retrieve Josh's flashlight, which he swore he'd dropped in the building. It was late afternoon, maybe 5 or 6 p.m. The sky was overcast, and the wind had picked up. The asylum looked different, like something had shifted. We walked straight back to the 2-story building, not saying much. Blake was the first to stop. "Did one of you come back here last night?" he asked. We all shook our heads. I remember feeling that cold, sinking feeling the second I looked up the staircase. There were footprints in the flour. They weren't ours. They were barefoot, human-looking but off. Narrow, long toes, no shoes, and a kind of dragging to the step, like whoever or whatever had walked down those stairs wasn't walking normally. But the worst part? The prints only came down. No matching prints were going up. Just a trail from the 2nd floor, through the flour, and then off into the dirt beside the building. We followed them, not far, just a few steps, and they disappeared like they'd never been there. The dirt was undisturbed. No more tracks, no impressions, just gone. We didn't speak. We didn't go inside. And we didn't look for the flashlight. I remember hearing this weird sound behind us as we walked away, like something whispering from one of the broken windows above. But no one else mentioned it, so I didn't either. I've gone back to Kenmore once since then, during the day. Couldn't bring myself to go near that building though. It's still there, crumbling and quiet. But now I wonder if something's watching from those windows, something that waits for people to come back. That flower was our stupid joke, but something walked through it. I never believed in ghosts, never thought places carried memories, but July 12, 2016, changed that. I'd been chasing spots for my small paranormal history YouTube channel, won't mention the name for anonymous reasons. When a comment suggested I visit Harlem Valley Psychiatric Hospital, I was intrigued. A sprawling complex of over 80 buildings on 800-plus acres, built in 1924 and shuttered in 1994, It was reputed to be a dark, eerie monument to mid-20th century psychiatric treatment. It wasn't just the size that pulled me in. Museum-like facilities, a bakery, bowling alley, dairy farm, and even a golf course where patients caddied for doctors. It had everything. And in its prime, around 1955, the campus buzzed with 5,000 patients and 5,000 staff, a self-contained world of suffering and science that used insulin shock, electroshock, frontal lobotomies, all in the name of care. By 2013, half of it was bought by Olivet University for dorm renovation. Even then, the buildings were covered in asbestos and mold, boarded up, and fenced off. But between the rails and warning signs, we found a way in. We entered through a broken basement window in the old morgue building. My friend Jesse was filming. I had the handheld cam and fear on my face. Flashlights revealed rusting metal gurneys, overturned tools, a chain-locked cooler, and a glass-paneled viewing window with a heavy slot, where technicians would discreetly see their subjects without opening the door. It smelled of old antiseptic and mold, like the stench of stale rubber and chemical decay. I watched Jesse pick up a scalpel handle. He froze. The lights flickered. We shrugged it off as wiring problems, but I remember the deliberate timing. It was unnatural. We followed a narrow tunnel that connected the morgue to the central hospital, reportedly used during wartime and for body transport. As we walked, static burst from Jesse's audio recorder. Then total silence. My flashlight battery dropped from full to dead in seconds. That was when I felt it, a cold spot so sharp I could see my breath. We switched to phone lights, barely enough. Venturing deeper, we entered an operating theater from the 1940s. Rust flakes fell when I tapped the doorframe. A dull smell, like dried blood, stung my nose. We heard voices, low murmurs coming from beyond. Not echoes, but distinct tones. One male, one female. We froze. I told Jesse, "Did you hear that?" He nodded. Then I heard it behind me. Soft shuffling, wet footsteps across slick floor tiles. I swung my phone behind and nothing. Only darkness. We thought it was maybe rats or stray cats. But when the audio came back, crackle, static, and a snippet, "Help me," I nearly dropped the camera. We backed up slowly, leaving the room. At that moment, I heard it, a long, wet scream rolling through the corridor. Not human, more fractured, like someone overdosed on shock treatment. Jesse dropped the cam and pulled me down, pressing us flat against the wall. We didn't breathe. The sound faded. We scrambled, got lost. Tunnels led us into the lower levels, the old morgue again? I couldn't tell. The ground sloped underfoot, pulling us downhill. Then Jesse whispered, "I saw someone." A figure in a linen gown, white but faded, stood at the far end. Its head was cocked unnaturally. We sprinted. I found a rusted grate labeled "Emergency Exit." We shoved it open, climbed through, and tumbled into a courtyard. We were 200 feet from the morgue door. Sunlight, finally. My flashlight batteries were completely drained. Jesse turned to me, whispering, "The morgue window, you know where we came in?" I nodded. We walked toward it, but froze. In the dilapidated sprinkler room behind it, inside that glass window, we saw a pale face staring at us. Not Jesse, not me, someone we didn't recognize. Hollow eyes. An expression of grief or despair. We were 10 feet away. It didn't blink. I felt watched. Like we'd stolen something. As the midday breeze rustled the corroded pipes, the face, just finger's breadth away from the glass, twitched, but the eyes remained fixed. Jesse screamed. The face moved behind the window, then vanished. We ran. We didn't stop until the car. No one spoke the whole way back. The camera had no footage of the face or the scream, just static and lines. When we played it back, the sound equipment had burned out. Batteries are completely drained. That night, I couldn't sleep. I tried to rationalize stress, tunnels, trauma in the walls, mice, electricity, something explainable. It didn't help. 2 years later, I returned legally for a campus tour. The morgue windows were boarded up. No one mentioned a face. No face in the old morgue. If you're chasing shadows or thrill, don't go to Harlem Valley alone. There's a reason they boarded it up. Story 3. I used to be into urban exploring back in the early 2000s, abandoned factories, tunnels, whatever I could find. But the one place I swore I'd never return to is Fairfield Hills Psychiatric Hospital in Newtown, Connecticut. You've probably heard of it, the massive asylum complex with underground tunnels, shuttered wards, and a reputation that goes way beyond local ghost stories. These days, it's been cleaned up a bit. There's a brewery on site, walking trails, and security everywhere. But when I went in 2003, none of that existed. It was just miles of decay and silence, and something else. It started like any other dumb teenage adventure. A friend of mine had scoped out the place a few weeks prior and swore we could sneak in if we were careful. There were 4 of us, all of us dressed in black, trying way too hard to be stealthy goths with our trench coats and eyeliner. We looked like a Hot Topic ad, which made us stick out like a sore thumb when we pulled up near the old staff housing. Security spotted us almost immediately. They didn't say anything, but we could feel eyes on us. So we bailed, drove to the Danbury Mall, killed time, and waited until nightfall. We parked off the road between 2 houses, hoping no one would tow us. Then we walked back under the cover of darkness, slipping between trees and fences, dodging the security truck weaving between the buildings like it was on a programmed route. At one point, we hid in a patch of woods for over an hour, just watching. Finally, we made our move past a soccer field, through a busted fence, and into the basement of the old rehab center. Inside was another world. The air was thick. Not just with dust, it had this strange, wet stillness, like whatever air was down there had been trapped for decades. We explored the building floor by floor. It was all classic asylum decay, peeling paint, rusted gurneys, old hospital charts still scattered in corners like the patients had just vanished. We lay on the morgue slabs, slammed the doors shut on each other, trying to be tough. But something about that room was different. The cold in there didn't feel like normal basement chill. It felt occupied. Later, someone found the tunnels. They connected nearly every major building underground. We were told they were used to move patients and corpses during the polio outbreak. They were long, pitch black, and barely wide enough for 2 people to walk side by side. We started exploring, flashlights flickering over moldy walls, trying to avoid the tunnels where black mold clung like wet skin. That's when we heard it. Footsteps. At first, we thought it was another group, a common thing at these places. But these weren't coming from behind us. They were ahead. Somewhere in the dark, heavy footsteps echoed off the tile, measured and slow. Not boots. Barefoot almost. Then they started running. Full sprint. Straight toward us. We froze. It wasn't an animal, too heavy. Too human. Our lights swept forward, nothing. No shadow, no movement. But the footsteps were real. You don't forget a sound like that. We bolted, tripping over pipes, trying to remember which tunnel brought us in. We didn't stop until we were back in the rehab building, gasping for breath, listening to the quiet. We still tried to shake it off. Maybe it was echoes. Or another group messing with us. We went back to the upper floors, picked a room to crash in. We laid out blankets and agreed on flashlight rules. No lights near windows. That was around 2 a.m. I didn't even get 20 minutes of rest before I heard them again. Footsteps. This time on our floor. The others stirred too. No one said a word. We just listened, slow, deliberate steps on linoleum. Then came the metallic clang of a heavy door swinging open and slamming shut. We all sat up. Security, someone whispered. But then we heard it talking. Not radio chatter. Not shouting. Whispers. It was like someone was pacing the hallway talking to themselves. Then silence. Then another door slammed shut. Closer this time. No one moved. My heart was hammering in my throat. I stared at the door window, expecting to see a flashlight beam or a face. Nothing came. Eventually, everyone dozed off except me. I stayed up, reading a crumpled magazine we found, too wired to sleep. Then I felt something crawling on my neck. Ticks. All over me. I tried waking the others, but they just groaned and rolled over. So I sat there, in the dark, flicking off ticks and listening to something pace back and forth outside the room for the next hour. When morning came, the air felt lighter, less oppressive. We packed up, slipped out of the basement, and crossed the field. We passed security as we left. They didn't even try to stop us, just gave us a look like they knew. Like they'd seen this before. I've never gone back. Fairfield Hills is still there, of course, cleaned up, sanitized for public consumption. But those tunnels still exist. The morgue, the rehab wing, the weird halls. I still don't know what we heard that night. I can tell you it wasn't just other teens. And I know footsteps when I hear them. Before we dive into the next story, if you're here for the first time, make sure to subscribe to our channel and tap the bell icon so you never miss a chilling tale. We rely on your support to keep bringing you true, terrifying stories, so please share these videos with your friends and family. Thanks for being here. Now, let's continue. Story 4. I'd been trespassing into abandoned places since high school, factories, old schools, small-town hospitals. But nothing I'd tried was as imposing as the Hudson River State Hospital in Fairview, New York. Built between 1868 and 1873, the sprawling Victorian Gothic campus was closed in 2003 after more than 130 years of operation, but the memories lingered in its decaying halls. By October 2024, most of the buildings had been torn down or boarded up, but the iconic Kirkbride Administration Building, a told behemoth of red brick and stone, still stood, a skeletal ghost looming over empty parking lots and tangled greenery. Reports of flickering lights, unexplained orbs, and chilling whispers from former patients followed the place like a shadow. I'm not a believer. I just came to check out the claims. I got inside just after midnight, climbing through a broken basement window on the northeast corner. My friend Mara held the flashlight, dim beam bouncing off metal trays and rusting refrigeration units. I set my camera to night mode and whispered, "Let's start with the chapel." We followed a cracked hallway back toward the Gothic chapel, one of two on site, which had service until the 1970s. I paused in the corridor. My breath felt loud, the old floorboards creaked, and every sound echoed. Inside the chapel was still mostly intact, pews rotting, light filtering through shattered stained glass tinted red and blue. A wooden pulpit lay crushed. We set down the gear, and that's when I noticed the sudden cold spot, like stepping into a freezer. My breath came in white fog, swirling over debris. As I panned the camera around, I caught something small and white fluttering over the pulpit. No, a glowing orb, soft and translucent, drifting in front of the altar. It paused just above an old hymn board and disappeared. We both exhaled, startled. We left the chapel and headed for the administration building, the place behind the local legends of flickering lights and disembodied voices. The double doors were chained, but a window gave enough room for Mara to squeeze through. Inside was chaos, crimson and yellow hospital furniture strewn across the marble foyer. The air was stale, thick with decades of decay. We climbed a wide staircase to the third floor, an area rumored to house shock therapy treatment rooms. On each floor, lights overhead flickered, never steady, always pulsing with power, as if searching for life. Around us, electronics failed. My camera buzzed, static washed over the audio feed, and my smartwatch lost battery, dropping from 80% to 1% in minutes. We entered one of the original therapy rooms. Inside, 3 metal chairs remained, seat belts still looped. My flashlight shook with each step. The beam fell on the walls, still hung with peeling motivational posters. The moment we moved in, the temperature dropped again. "Did you hear that?" whispered Mara. I froze. From the hallway, footsteps. Bare, shuffling. Heavy, like someone pacing just outside the door. We backed against the corridor wall. The sound slowed and stopped. We ducked into a side room, no windows, no furniture, just 4 bare walls. My breathing was shallow. Mara's back bumped mine. On the cam mic, I heard it clearly. Someone whispering, a voice so soft I had to strain. I clicked off the flashlight. Total black. Total silence. Then, a distant scream, like a woman in pain or anguish. Not long. Just a note of terror that ended in gasping. We bolted down the stairs, 2 of us at the same time. Back in the hallway, lights flashed overhead, long enough to freeze me mid-stride. I could swear I saw silhouettes, trailing behind us between the doorways by the elevator shaft. They didn't move, just paused. When the light flickered out, it felt like the dark was pulling us. My heart pounded. We ran for the exit, but it seemed the double doors slammed closed by themselves. The chains still hung slack, the lock unbroken. We tried. I felt hands, icy fingers, brush over my arm. The air roared in my ears. My breath came in choking gasps. I screamed, threw my shoulder against the door, and it finally gave. We burst into the night air. We didn't stop running. We finally made it back to the car. I looked once at the building and saw a reflection, ghost white, standing in the top floor window of the administration building. Nobody, just eyes staring back like twin moons. I fled without gear. No camera footage of the screaming or shadows, just static, blinking lights and dead batteries. If you do choose to explore Hudson River State Hospital, bring backup batteries, stay with someone, and duck out quickly. Story 5. I'm from just south of Georgia, and I've always been fascinated by abandoned places. After all, Georgia has some notorious spots, Savannah, of course, but I wanted to find something else, something hidden, something with history. That's when I came across Central State Hospital, Georgia's first insane asylum. It's been closed for years, left to rot. I decided I'd film my first paranormal YouTube video there, explore the place, maybe catch something no one else had. It was July 15, 2019. I woke up early, drove 2 hours, and as the city faded behind me, the buildings gave way to trees. The sunlight filtered through, the grass freshly cut, and it was oddly peaceful for a place like this. The main building loomed ahead, aged but still standing, swallowed by creeping vines and nature reclaiming what was hers. At first, it didn't feel eerie, just quiet. I strapped my GoPro to my cap, grabbed my gear, and walked around the outside. There was a water fountain near the entrance, and to my surprise, it still worked. But every door was locked tight, warnings about mold, decay, and snakes taped to the entrance. The whole place looked untouched by vandals, no graffiti, no smashed windows, just silent decay. I circled to the back, where a stairway led to another door. This one was broken, glass shattered, and I could see inside. The strangest thing? The lights were on. Flickering, but on. I tried reaching through to unlock the door, but it needed a key. That's when a security vehicle pulled up. A man rolled down his window, asked me if I was breaking in. I told him no, showed him my ID, and explained I was there to film. He warned me sternly to stay away from the back. The mold was dangerous, animals lurked, and I wasn't allowed past the front sidewalk. He left me with a final warning. This place isn't safe. But I wasn't about to drive 2 hours for a few photos from a sidewalk. I scoped the property again, looking for another way inside. Then I found it, a broken window beside a chained door on a smaller building connected to the main one. I slipped inside carefully, flashlight in hand. The darkness swallowed me. The walls here were covered with crude graffiti, vulgar drawings, slurs, the usual from bored vandals. But deeper in, I found a hallway that led back to the front. A chained door blocked the exit, but next to it was an old elevator, crooked and rusted. I didn't touch it. Nearby was a room that looked like it once served as a check-in center. Filing cabinets lay toppled, papers scattered on the floor. I picked some up and read. Payslips, blood donation forms, and accident reports from the 1950s. 3 patients died trying to escape. One hanged himself with a bedsheet. Another killed a fellow patient. And the most horrifying? A man in maximum security vomited on the floor. Staff forced him to clean it up with a towel, then made him eat it. There were reports of unsupervised surgeries and experimental drugs tested on patients without consent. Then I found a photo, men in suits staring at a small boy, no older than 5, locked inside a tiny metal cage. The boy's eyes avoided theirs, staring blankly into space. I whispered, "What the hell happened here?" Suddenly, a scraping noise startled me. I peeked down the hall, nothing. Then, from the elevator shaft, a possum hissed and darted out, scrambling away. I let out a shaky breath. Then I saw it. Something else burst out of a doorway down the hall and grabbed the possum, tearing into it like it was starving. The creature's eyes glowed in the dim light. I don't completely remember what it looked like. It was completely black, like a shadow with breath. Is it someone new? Frozen, I watched as two more emerged from the walls themselves. Impossible, like they crawled out of the building's very foundation. One sat on the wall, perfectly still. The others appeared, one by one, from the top windows, from the dark corner. Their eyes pierced me, glowing with something unnatural. They looked like lunatics. They started moving, sprinting, crawling toward me, shrieking with ragged breath, like smokers with holes in their throats. Panic took over. I ran back down the hall, breath burning in my chest, eyes fixed on the window, the light beyond it promising escape. I have to make it out, I screamed inside my head. I crawled through the broken window and kept running, not stopping until I reached my car. As I started the engine and backed away, I looked back. Faces, those murdery eyes, stared out from every window. I'm warning you, don't go to Central State Hospital. It's not the mold or the snakes you need to fear. The patients never left. I never planned on filming anything at Plymouth County Hospital, later known as Cranberry Specialty Hospital. Still, when the opportunity came, I convinced myself it was better than staying home. Built in 1919 in Hanson, Massachusetts, and shuttered in 1992, the hospital began as a TB sanatorium and later transitioned into a chronic care facility. Its Mediterranean revival architecture stood out, with red-tiled roofs, sunlit verandas, but by the 2000s, the site had fallen into ruin. Arson, vandalism, asbestos, collapsing ceilings, and condemned zones were common sights. Still, it had drawn urban explorers for years. Some said they heard distant laughter, had flashlights shut off, saw cold spots loom in empty wards, even picked up EMF spikes in abandoned labs. I thought I was prepared. I wasn't. My friend Sarah and I arrived on a chilly March morning, barely light. The fence was already cut at one corner. We slipped inside just past 6 a.m., cameras rolling. The empty parking lot was littered with glass and broken plaster. Inside the annex, a small wing still used by the local food pantry, we found stairs leading to the main building. We climbed quietly, each step echoing. The deeper we ventured, the heavier the air grew. In one ward, a broken cassette player lay abandoned, tangled in dust. Curious, Sarah clicked a tape. I swear it was a random chance. A distant melody crackled to life inside the empty hall, a lullaby. Soft, slow, the tape deck ground out the tune repeatedly, as if powered by something beyond electricity. We turned it off. It clicked again in the silence. We moved further, to the central rotunda, once the heart of the complex. Tall arches framed the decaying space. Chlorine-clean tiles were stained, paper was peeling from the walls. Sarah pointed her EMF meter at the elevator shaft, and it spiked violently. Sarah's face drained of color. Mine wasn't far behind. Then the laughter started. First faint, like children playing across the courtyard. Then louder and more hollow. Not mocking, sad. Curious. Echoing between floors. We followed the sound to a sunlit ward, once used for TB patients, empty since the tapes ran. We passed rooms where sheets still lay in crumpled heaps. A cold fog hugged the floor, pressing under our feet. The tape deck sprang to life again, blaring a lullaby, then abruptly switching to faint laughter. It was joined by footsteps in the hall, more than ours. We froze as the lights above flickered. Footsteps converged with scratching, something pacing just outside the ward's glass windows. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind us. Sarah's EMF meter went berserk, red lines swinging. I smashed the tape deck, hoping the lullaby would die. Instead, it looped again. I watched the dust swirl around the broken speaker. Then the laughter stopped. The lullaby faded to silence. The air dropped. Silence. We ran. Outside in the dawn light, Sarah couldn't speak. I found my voice. Something's here. The tape deck was crushed and silent. My EMF meter never recovered. Sarah got the chills for weeks. I never posted the footage. Story 7. It's been more than 10 years and I still think about it. About what or who was behind us that night. Back in 2011, I was living in Melbourne. 3 of us, bored out of our minds one weekend, got the bright idea to check out Larundel Mental Asylum. You've probably heard the name. Locals say it's haunted. Really haunted. Built in 1938, shut down by 99, and ever since, it's been a magnet for ghost stories and urban legends. We didn't believe any of it. At the time, the site was being prepped for demolition or maybe converted into apartments. Either way, most of the doors and windows had already been boarded up. A metal construction fence surrounded the building we parked next to, and we knew security patrolled the grounds. But we were young, and rules were more of a suggestion back then. One of my mates managed to pry the fence up just enough for us to crawl under. The second I got inside the perimeter, I felt it, that hum of adrenaline, like we were breaking into something sacred. That perfect storm of teenage recklessness and what the hell are we doing here? We crept around, scanning for a way inside. It didn't take long to find a weak spot. One of the side doors was ajar just enough. It led into what I assume was an admin wing. We switched on our phone torches and stepped into the dark. At first, it was all pretty uneventful. It had the usual decay you'd expect from a place left to rot for over a decade. We barely had time to take in the staircase to the left, the graffiti-covered walls, or the dead silence when, crunch, footsteps. From outside. Fast, deliberate, getting closer. Gravel under boots. We all heard it. Immediately, we killed our lights and froze. I mean pitch black. I might as well have had my eyes closed. You could feel how silent it was. None of us spoke. We just stood there in the entranceway, backs to the door we'd just come through. We were certain security had spotted us. The crunching stopped right behind us. Dead silence. 5 seconds. Still nothing. No torchlight. No voice. No movement. Just something behind us. Eventually, one of the guys, barely whispering, muttered, "I'm gonna look." He turned slowly. Nothing. There was no one there. No footsteps walking away. No door creaks. No wind. Just blackness and stillness. As if the footsteps had never existed at all. He turned to us and said, "Let's get the fuck out of here." We didn't need to be told twice. We tore out of there, diving under the fence and sprinting straight back to the car. Not a single one of us looked back until we were pulling out of the lot. That's when I saw it. Up in one of the top floor windows, before they'd been boarded up, I swear to God, I saw the silhouette of a little girl. Just standing there. Still watching. I didn't say anything at first, but weeks later, one of the others brought it up over beers, unprompted. "Mate, remember Larundel? That night? I saw someone in the window when we left. A little girl. Top floor. Just staring at us." Chills. Instant validation. And it didn't stop there. Another girl I know went up there years earlier, before the construction even started. Said she couldn't even bring herself to go inside. Something was keeping her from crossing the threshold. Her friend went in alone. While she stood outside, she heard footsteps echoing inside the building. Assumed her mate was screwing around, but she wasn't. They compared notes later. The steps didn't match up. Even after Larundel got redeveloped into apartments, weird shit kept happening. Family friends moved in. One night, their 4-year-old daughter's doll started talking on its own. Her dad got up to check. The thing had no voice box. No batteries. He just said, "That's weird." Others living in the estate have heard music boxes playing at night. No explanation. No source. So call it paranoia. Call it the power of suggestion. Call it anything you want. But we all remember those footsteps the same way. We heard them. We felt them. And nothing was there. I still wonder, what if we'd stayed longer? What if we'd turned around just a second earlier? Would we have seen who or what was standing there? We've come to the end of the series today, and if you made it this far, you're braver than most. These were just a few of the true experiences people have chosen to share, but we know there are more out there. Maybe even yours. If you've lived through something strange, something you can't explain, share it in the comments, or just send me a direct email. We might feature your story next. And if you want more real, spine-chilling encounters just like these, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and share this video with someone who thinks they don't believe in ghosts. We post new terrifying true stories every week. Sleep light tonight.